Welcome to Module 5. In this module, we are going to be working with and creating multiple table forms. CMF Vets uses its database to keep records about veterinarians and appointments. The practice is in the process of hiring some specialty veterinarians to cover complicated cases. The increase in personnel means that CMF Vets needs to maintain additional data on its veterinarians. The practice wants to promote the newly hired specialty veterinarians and their status as board-certified professionals. They also want to include each veterinarian's specialty as well as the veterinarian's picture. Additionally, CMF Vets wants to connect the new clinicians' online resources, such as LinkedIn profiles. These files are separate from the database. Some are maintained in Word and others as a PDF. CMF Vets would like a way to attach these files to the corresponding veterinarian's records in the database. Finally, CMF Vets wants to adjust the phone number fields in the veterinarian table. Users should type only the digits in the telephone number and then have Access format the numbers appropriately. If the user enters numbers, for example, Access will format the numbers correctly as a phone number. After the proposed fields have been added to the database, CMF Vets wants users to be able to use the form that incorporates the veterinarians and appointments table and includes the newly added fields as well as some of the existing fields in the veterinarians table. The form should also include the veterinarian ID, the first and last name of the veterinarian, and their office phone number and cell phone. CMF Vets would like to see multiple appointments for each veterinarian on the screen at the same time. The database should allow users to scroll through all the appointments and see the patient ID, date and time of the appointment, and the treatment requested. At any time, the veterinarian's resume can be opened for viewing. Finally, CMF Vets will need queries that use the board-certified start date and specialty fields. So with all that said, this is what we're going to come up with. It's creating a form that includes all of the factors that we're looking for. So we're going to open up the CMF Vets textbook project for Module 5 from your Cengage site. And now that it's open, our goal here is to add some new fields in the veterinarians table. We're going to do that by modifying the design. So we want to add board certifications, specialty, picture, and resume field to the veterinarians table. So we've got this open, and we're going to open up the veterinarians table. I'll look there. You can choose to just double click it or right mouse button click and open in design view. It doesn't matter either way. We can open it and change the view if we like. So now that we have our veterinarians table open, we are going to insert 3 fields at the bottom, and if we want to move them, we will. We are going to add board certification. Certified, okay, as a yes/no field. So I just type tab and type the yes/no. Board certified, we want a specialty. Yeah, that's right. Specialty as a long text. That just means that we can add more data if we want. Picture as an attachment. And we will add resume as an attachment. Okay, so we're adding 3 new fields. A yes, no. The yes, no just means we're going to put in a tick box. The specialty means that we can type a lot of information or copy and paste information in. The attachment means we're actually going to attach a picture. And the resume, we're going to attach those as well. So now that we've added those fields, we're just going to do a save, just so that we can save the veterinarian's table in case we make a mistake and then we don't want to have to go all the way back. So we've added those fields. Our next job is that we want to create the rule so that when we input information into the phone numbers, they come back, we can just type in the numbers and they'll come back putting in the brackets and the dashes, etc. When we create those, we use what's known as an input mask. An input mask really just says that you're going to input the data and it will automatically fix it for you. So we're going to go to the office phone number. We're going to go down into the properties, into the input mask. Now down here is an actual field for that. And way over here is where there is 3 dots. That 3 dots means that we can now build. So if we build our input mask, we end up with the input mask wizard. And right now it automatically came up to phone number because it kind of had an idea, but actually phone number is just at top. So there are different formats that we can use. Right now there is a phone number, and if you notice here, it shows up as 206-555-1212. So what it means is you can enter information. You can just put in your 206. So for example, if I wanted to try it, I can just type in 206-555-1212, and it automatically sets it up in the correct formatting. So that's what we want. We want that input mask there so that the phone number will come up looking like that. It doesn't require anybody to type in the numbers. So we're going to click next, or type in the brackets and the dashes. Now it says, do you want to change the input mask? So for example, here's our phone number, here's the input mask, and we have our placeholders. So do we want to make any changes? The answer is no, we're good with the way it looks. So this means it's going to be bracket, and when they put 999, it's just a number plaque holder, hey? And then it says, do we want to have plaque holder notices at all? In other words, when I put my cursor in here, you notice it put little lines in there so that it shows that I need to type stuff in. And I'm okay with that, so we'll just leave that. And it says, how do you want to store the data? Do you want to store it with the symbols, or do you want to store it without the symbols? We actually want to store it without the symbols, and that just sort of makes it easier for us. It will show up with all of the brackets and the dash, but we want to store it without. So we'll say next, and it says that's all you need, so we can finish. Okay, so down here in our input mask, we're going to start getting into some of this coding that goes in here, but it really is just showing what the coding actually looks like. But because we used a wizard to do it, it came up and created it for us. It has an exclamation mark to get it started, and it just shows an input mask of how it's going to work. So we'll make sure that we explain those as we need them. So I'm going to save this right now. And I'm going to close the veterinarian's table. So our job now is going to be just to enter data into that table that we did the alterations to. We added some new fields, so we're just going to enter all that data. So we're going to open up our our veterinarian's table, and I will close the panel here. And if we look here, we have a few extra fields. It says that we have a incorrect phone number for S01, or are we entering information on S01? Oh yeah, I guess we're going to create a new guy called S01. His first name is Carl, and his second name is Schwartz. Office phone is 970-555-3455, and I'll press tab. And so we can just enter the information in the phone numbers. Now you'll note that he's the only one that got his phone number in there nicely. We didn't update it, so we'll talk about that later. So I'm just going to enter the rest of the information. 970-584-9910. And his email is cschwartz@cengage.com. And his street address is 159 S. Chestnut Street. In Cortez, Colorado. And it's 81321. Okay, so we just entered a new record. This guy, now we've got this box here, and that's a yes/no check box. When we're tabbing and typing, in order to make the checkbox work, you can just push the space bar when you tab into it. So he is board certified, so we've pressed our space bar. His specialty is cardiology with a specialty in cats and dogs. Cardiology with, oops, I spelled with wrong, with a specialty in cats and dogs. Okay, so at this point, our specialty field is kind of small, and we are going to change. I'm sort of looking to make sure that we change it to the right size, because it doesn't really say exactly what size we wanted it to be. So we can then spread it out, make it bigger. I'm just going to flow over there. So we can make the field bigger with a specialty in cats and we can also drag it down so that we have at least 2 lines. So cardiology with a specialty in cats and dogs. So we just made the specialty field bigger so that we could read it. And so we've resized the row and resized the column. And we're going to then, we have attachment up here. It said attachment, and I'm unsure about why it doesn't say what the attachment is. So it should have the name of the attachment up here. So I think I need to fix that. Oh no, they've got it there. We'll fix it in a little. What I need to do is make this a caption, hey? So we will click in here. And when we see this, you notice that it has a paperclip, which is an attachment, and it says that there's no attachments there. Okay, so we're going to right mouse button click on this and manage the attachments. So we're going to add a picture to it. We will add, and now we need to go into our computer and find out where we downloaded the files to. So remember, when we start with our modules, we want to download all the files and put them into a folder called Module 5. So I'm going to go in there and do that, or go pick mine up. Mine's in Module 5. I'm working on the textbook project, and I'm going to take the Carl Schwartz picture. So Carl Schwartz is right here. So we have some picture files, we have the resume for Carl that we're going to put in there, and we have some other information here. So I'm going to take his picture and I'll select open, and it says, do you want this JPEG file? And I'm going to say, okay, yes, that's the correct file. So I now have one attachment. We don't get to see it right now because it's not being presented. This is just the table where we store things. So we will add the remaining pictures of all the other doctors that we have, vets that we have. So there were some, and I didn't even notice who else has them. Oh, here it is. So we have Calvin Bennett, Teresa Gomez, Mia, and William. So we will use those pictures. So we will just do that all at the same time. So the first one is going to be William. And I will, so if I double clicked, I forgot to right mouse button click, but I just did double click and it'll let you in there. So the first one was, let me in, did it open? I forgot to add. And we're just going to go back to, oh, here it is. It's in the module 3 textbook file. So who did I just say? See, I forgot already. Was it William Black? Okay, I just got to double check that it was William Black. The next one is Calvin Bennett. Calvin Bennett. I'm just adding their resumes here. Their picture files. So we will add Calvin because this is his picture. Gomez is next. Teresa Gomez, I see her down there. And then the final one is Mia Ranlee. And so now everybody has a picture attached to their attachment files right here. Okay, so that we've added the remaining pictures. We now need to attach another piece of information. That's going to be their resume. And when we attach their resume, we want to, and we only have a resume for the final guy here. What was his name? Carl. So we will open that up, double click, or right mouse button, click and manage your attachments. We are going to add the resume for Carl Schwartz. So this is a JPEG file. We don't want that one. And we will look for resume as a Word file for Carl Schwartz. So he's there, and then we're going to say open. This time it says a doc. And we are going to say okay. So we have added the, oh, did they want another attachment too? Oops, I didn't even notice that. So I guess there's another PDF file that we forgot to add. So if you did something by mistake, you could remove it here. But I needed to add something to do with the Innovations in Cat Cardiology by Carl. So I forgot to add that one, so I can just go back in and add it. So now there's 2 files there. And if I wanted to look and make sure they were the right file, I could just double click and open the file. It works pretty good. So I'm going to attach that, and now I have 2 attachments here. And what happens now is that when we start working with our forms and our reports, we can show these files. So I'm going to save this for now, and we've entered the information that we need. If at any time you want to check that you have the right file in here, you can create some kind of a report or a form, or you can simply just double click and open that. So I'm going to close the veterinarians table and open up my navigation pane again. So now that we've created those additional fields in our veterinarians table, we can now create the form that we're looking for. So we want it to be in a single form. We want to display the information about the veterinarian, as well as any appointments, and we're going to include the appointments as a subform. So the first thing we're going to do is to look at the relationship. So we're going to go to our database tools, and we're going to go into our relationships. So right now we have a relationship between all of these tables here. And if you wanted to see whether there was any tables you were missing, so I'll just scroll over there and I'll close this right now. We can click on Add Tables. Okay, so we have owners, patients, appointments, and treatment costs. But you'll notice that our veterinarian table is not a part of the relationships. So we need to add the veterinarian table here. So we're going to add the veterinarians table to connect it, because otherwise our forms won't work. If our veterinarian table is not connected in our relationship window to the appointment table, then it's not going to work. So we need to connect the veterinarians to the appointments. So if we look here, we can say, okay, what is the common field? Well, the common field is that we have a veterinarian ID that is connected down here to the veterinarian. So the veterinarian and the veterinarian need to be connected. Now the naming as it is not exact, but because we know that the veterinarian the information comes from the veterinarian's table, we can create a relationship. So we take the veterinarian ID and drag it down to the veterinarian in the appointments table. Okay, so we've just grabbed it, dragged it down, dropped it in the veterinarian table, and we have the veterinarian's table and the related table from one's from the appointments, one's from the veterinarian, and we want to enforce our referential integrity. Okay, so we enforce it so that there is one veterinarian, but they can have many appointments. Now, if this is not done, then we can't create the form we want. So we're going to create that relationship, and now we have enforced referential integrity. I'll close the table thing so that the veterinarian table is connected. Oops, I wanted to move it directly to the appointment table. So now they're all interconnected somehow. Okay, there's not a table here that is like left to its own devices. So they're all connected. So then we want to save this relationship. Okay, so we save the relationship, we close it, and now we can go and create our form. So we're going to be creating our form. We'll start with create. I'll close my panel here. And we're going to create a form in Form Design. Okay, so when we create a form in Form Design, we have, it looks a little different than, I don't know, queries, for example. So these rulers are up here just to give you an indication of where you're dragging and dropping stuff. Right now we have no tables, so we need to add existing fields. We need to show our table properties, so we want to have our field list. We're going to show all tables that we have, and we're going to choose which table we're going to be working with. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we're working with the veterinarian's table. So I'm just going to open up the veterinarian's table so that the plus is now minus, and I have all of these fields. So I can now build my form any way I want. I'm just going to drag and drop fields in, place them, move them around, and make them look pretty. That's all I'm going to do right now. Okay, so we're going to, right now mine's in centimeters. If they tell us that we have to have things in a specific spot, then I'll change that. But for now, I'm just leaving it as it is. So we're going to drag the approximate position, I guess. So we're going to drag in the, let's see, I just need to see which fields we're talking about. So we're starting with the veterinarian, first name, last name. So we have a veterinarian ID. So we'll drag that over here. So we have veterinarian ID. Now, if we wanted this to be a little bit bigger, I can just make it bigger so that it allows me to see. So this one says that it's like 6 inches is the most, and I don't know, mine's not in inches, so we'll just see how this is going to work out. So if I place things in the wrong spot, I can just drag them over and put them sort of more center. So it all comes with me. So I want a veterinarian, I want first name over here. It's not an exact science. Well, it will be an exact science, but for now I'm just placing my stuff. Oops, last name needed to go over here. And then see this little black square? If I click on the black square, it would move. I don't know if I grabbed it properly, but it will move just the title or the name here. Okay. I want office phone and cell phone. So office phone is going to go over here and cell phone is going to come over here. And then I would line them all up to exactly where I want them to look like or be. Okay, so now we're going to, we added our veterinarian ID, the first name, last name, office phone, and cell phone. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an alignment for these. So we're going to click on the first name. So this, where it's dark here, this is known as the label. Okay, so these are the labels. When we want to alter just the labels, we would click the labels. Okay, right here where we see the actual values are going to come in, these are known as the controls. Okay, so if you're asked to click in the control, you would click on these. If you're asked to click the label, you would click on these. Okay, so we're going to click on the first name control, and we're going to hold the shift key, and we'll click on the last name, office phone, and cell phone. Are we clicking them all? Maybe. So we are going to, oh yeah, we're not going to, if I'm going to deselect those. So we're going to just get these aligned a little bit better. So we're going to align these, and we're going to align them left. Okay. So right now we need to be in the Arrange tab. And in the Arrange tab, there's lots that's not available, but that's because we have our controls selected. So we'll click on Align, and we're going to align left. Okay, so it aligned them together. So now I don't have to worry about making it perfect. So then we're going to do the same thing for our office phone and cell phone. So they're together, so we're going to align them left. And so that looks good. So now that they're lined up nicer, we're also going to align these guys vertically. Okay, so we will select the label, hold the shift key, first name, control, office phone label, office phone control, and we will go align. And in this case, we want it to align it so that it's at the top. Okay, so we're sort of making it so that they're aligned together, and I had done a pretty good job of that one. So I'll just move this one down a little bit so that we can see the difference. So this time I'm going to do the bottom one, and I'll that, and I'll go up to align, and I'll align top. And so it changed it so that it aligned at top. So all we're doing is making it do the alignment for us. Okay. The next thing we want to do is we want to select all of them so that we want them to be the same size. So we want to select all 4 fields. So we're going to all 4 controls. So first name, last name, office phone, and cell phone. And then we're going to go to our properties. Well, actually, we can probably do it up here. So we're going to go to the size and space. And in this case, we want to have equal vertical on the size space menu. Okay, so we want equal vertical. In other words, we want them to be the same size. Okay, they were the same size, but because it's really easy to make them a different size, they may have not been. Okay, so we've now lined this all up. And our next thing is, we should be okay here. So we're going to save this. So I'm going to click on my Save As. So I will save my form as the veterinarian appointment form. Veterinarian appointment form. Okay, veterinarian appointment form, and I'm going to save that. So now I've got these all nicely saved. If fields don't fit, I can adjust them to make sure that everything fits, and we'll probably be working with that in a bit. Okay, so we need to add the rest of the controls. So I'm going to look here, and I think it should be 21, should be my max. Okay, so I'm going to add in specialty. So I see specialty here. I'm going to add it right over here by the office phone. Okay. And now I'm sort of going to just do some altering here. My little specialty thing needs to go up top, and this one needs to come down. So I'm just going to, fix things up just a little bit here. They're probably going to tell me to do something specific, but I want specialty to be on top, the actual label to be on top. And I can just drag it and make it a little bit bigger so that it fits. Should do that with this, but we'll probably be doing the whole thing together. Okay, so I added specialty. It doesn't need to be quite that big. Oops. I can just make it any size I want. And I'm going to add the picture. So I'll find my picture. And we're going to, when we add our picture, we're just going to drag our picture, and it says data, file, file type. So it sort of has all the information. We want because this is really the one that we want to drag in. So we're going to drag in the picture of the data or the file. So maybe I can just drag the whole thing in. That would make my life easier. Okay, so I added a picture. I'm going to make the picture sort of semi the size that they're showing. So it's supposed to be a square. And then this picture thing is supposed to come up to the top. So I need to drag this one down and put that over here. All right, so I have the picture, and this and my resume is going to come over here as well. So I'll just grab this and add my resume over here. And I'll put the resume, probably right there. And I'll try and make the resume file the same size as the picture. Probably doesn't need to be the same size, but there. Okay, so it's okay for now. We'll just deal with it. So we're just playing and making things, I don't know, kind of look the same. We're creating this field. Okay, so I think we're okay here. Now we could make these two if we really wanted to. Shift, I'll change those. I'll do my align. I'm going to align those top, and I'll do the same to these guys. Top, and then I'll do these two picture, align them left nicely, and I'll do the same to this one. Align it to the left so that it's lined up. Actually, yeah, that's okay. So now it's sort of aligned a little bit better. All right. Oh, we need to add the field board certified. Okay, and we want board certified to go under last name. So I'm just sort of following along with the what they're showing here. So board certified, it should be there, and I think they want it over somewhere under our last name. Okay, so I'll leave that. Maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. Okay, so we've positioned most of them. I'm just checking to see whether there's anything I'm missing here. Office phone, cell phone. I think we've got everything. Now we've created the base for our table. Okay, I'm going to save it. And this is, or sorry, for our form. So we've created what we want our form to look like. If I wanted to look at it, just take a peek, and this is a recommendation all the time, is to go in and take a peek and see what it looks like. It's not going to be perfect yet. We have some work to do, but it's always nice to go in and look at what it's going to look like. Okay, so this is what it looks like so far. This is what we've created. If we wanted to flow through and see the other people, we have the pictures for these guys. And then when it comes to Carl, we have a tick box in his board certified. The picture of Carl comes up and a picture of a PDF file for his resume. Now this is, we're going to be fixing this. This resume, it came up as the default file was the PDF. We'll deal with that later. Okay. All right, so I can go back to my design view. And it's already saved, and then we'll continue on. Our next job is to do a little bit of beautification. In other words, change some colors, etc., etc. So we're going to change the background colors of certain parts of our form. Now, one thing we should note up here is that we have some interesting parts of our form. We haven't really dealt with, if we go back into our design, our form, we don't have a title up here or anything like that. So we've got things to do. We also want to create some background color and give it, you know, a little bit more prettiness, I guess you call it. So I'll go back into design view. And what I'm going to do is right mouse button click on here till a menu comes up. And then I'm going to do the fill color. So fill or back color. And I'm going to click the gray. And in the gray color, I want row 3, 1, 2, 3, and column 1. It just gives it a background color, kind of boring. So we filled the back color to gray. We're then going to add a title because we really need to know what is the purpose of this title. So we're going to go to our design tab, which we're already on. And in the design tab, you can see that we have a logo, title, date, and time for our header and our footer. As soon as I click title, it creates the header and it creates the footer. Okay, so now it's created for us. We can see that we have our veterinarian appointment form. There's a little box here, and this is one place that we can create a section like this section, so we could put maybe our logo in there if we wanted to. So we added the veterinarian appointment form. We're going to leave the title for now. We're okay with that. So it's starting to look more like a form. If you want to keep looking at it, that's totally fine. It'll ask us to save before we do. So you can go back into form view. It didn't make us change at all. I thought it would make us save it, but we now have our form up there. So we might want to change the background color on this as well. We haven't done that yet, so I'm going to go back into design view. And now we're going to create the sub form. Okay, so when we want, what we want is down here at the bottom, we want a sub form to come in to show all of the appointments. So we're going to scroll a little bit down below the board certified thing. So I'm just going to scroll a little bit, and I'm going to move this footer down a bit so that I have enough room for my table. So my table is going to go in this area here. So I need to create my sub form. So when we go into our commands here, these are all the commands that we can add into our table, okay? So what we're going to be doing is adding a subform. So we're going to look for the word subform. So it's text box, label, button, tab control. There's all these different things that we can add. Link, navigation control, options, a page break, a combo box. Like there's just, we can, all these things you can just add to your form. A line, and lines are handy because it breaks up the information. A toggle button on or off. A list box, we might want to add a list box in there. A rectangle just so that we can put stuff in there or add stuff. A checkbox, a picture, an attachment, a radio button or option button. Our subform, which we're going to use, this is the one we're going to use. You might want to add a bound object frame, an image, a web browser control, or a chart. Okay, so there's all these different things that we can add. So we want to add our subform. Okay, so in my subform, I can click or drag. If I click, my subform is with me. I could also have dragged it in as well. So when we do this, we want to use the control wizard. So what we're going to do is, I think it should be already done. We'll see whether it does that or not. So we're going to drag and just sort of create a little bit of space in here. Okay, so you notice I just sort of drag and drop. I could have done a little tiny drag. It doesn't really matter. We can fix it. So I just grabbed and dragged. So right now it says child 1, and the child is not attached to its parent. It's unbound. So all we did was create one. It doesn't know what we want to do yet. Okay, so the subform wizard comes up as soon as I drag like that. It says, what do you want in your subform? And that's very important. What do we want in our subform? Well, we know that we want appointments. Okay, so we're going to use an existing table or query or an existing form. We're going to use an existing table and query or query. So we want to choose, we want the appointments. Okay, we don't want, if we say form or table and query. Okay, so the forms that are here are the ones we could choose from. The tables and queries we haven't gotten to yet. Okay, so we want an existing table or a query. Now, which table or query do we want? Well, we're going to take the information from the appointments table. Okay, and then it says, what do you want to see? So if we think about it, what is the important information that we actually want to see? Well, we don't care about the appointment ID, but we don't care about the veterinarian because it's already attached. We already know who the veterinarian is because that's going to show on our form. So we want the patient ID, we want the appointment date, time, and the treatment number. Okay, so we don't care about the owner right now. That's not part of it. We need to know the veterinarian and what appointments they have and the treatments they're going to do. Okay, so we now have that. We'll go next. And it says, would you like to define which fields link your main form to the subform or choose from the list below? Well, we want to, in our case, we want to choose from the list. And what that's going to do is going to show appointments. So it says here, show appointments for each record in the SQL statement using the veterinary ID. So using our veterinarian ID, we want to show what appointments they have. Okay. So we'll click next. And what do we want to call it? Well, we just want to call it appointments because this is actually a subform, yes. But it does show up all the appointments. So we want to name the subform appointments. And then we're going to just make sure, yep, finish. So now what it did is something that we're going to leave alone sort of a bit. I will take a look at it And I notice how it's popped over top of my picture in my resume. So I can take this and I can just move it over because it's like in my way. And any of these other fields I can fix as well. So my appointments label needs to go, and if I look at where it should be, I will drag these down just a little bit and this piece down just a little bit, and it should come up as the appointments. And if we look at that, we can go back into Design View and take a look at it in a second. I just want to see if there's anything else. Everything looks good. Now you'll notice that it looks a little different here. Like, so it says patient ID, appointment. But if we look at it in Form View, it has patient, appointment, treatment number. Okay, so it's got an error here, and I'm like, why does it have an error here? So I might have to go and look at why it has an error here. Just give me a second here. And I might have just taken the wrong piece. So I can go back in and take a look at it. So it could have been that when I took my appointments, just taking a look, I could have taken the wrong treatment number. So see, it has an arrow here. It's given me a warning about that. Okay, so what it said was, this warning here, it says the invalid control source, no such field in the field list. So all I did was I took the wrong part of that for some strange reason, because I used the wizard, so it should have worked out. I was just looking to see, I didn't want the treatment cost, right? I wanted appointment and treatment number. So I guess I have to look at what is going on with my treatment number. So it should have just been that number. So it's got my appointments, so I can change all the fields in here just to make sure I can see them. His appointment, his treatment, and then this shows all of his, and I'll fix that in a second, the treatment name. So Calvin didn't have any. Teresa has an appointment that we have to fix that name for. Mia doesn't have any, and nor does Carl. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure, double check. Okay, so I'll go back into my design view, design view, and I will fix this issue. Okay, so we need to fix this piece right here. We'll do that right now. So we want treatment number, but it says that it's not an actual value. So I'm going to just delete this one out of there. And then what I'm going to do is go into my appointments, because this is the appointment subform. So make sure your field list shows the appointments table. And then I'll just grab the treatment number and see if I can just redo it. So I'm going to take my treatment number and drop it over here, somewhere here. And then I'll sort of fix it up a little bit for both of them. And I probably want to size things a little bit better. Patient ID, whoops, I'll click off of that, just so that it shows. And then we'll see what it looks like. It didn't give me the error anymore, which is great, makes me happy. And then we'll take a look at it and see if it actually gave us the treatment numbers. And the reason this was a little bit of a hassle was because it's one of those multi lookups. So we entered more than one item for their treatment. So we're going to take a look at it. We will be fixing this table up a bit more. I want it to be bigger, and we'll move it around. So we will go into our Home tab and take a look at our form view. So that's better. It looks like it worked out pretty good. As you can see, I want to make that bigger and I don't want it to cover over the picture. So here's where we sort of start doing a little bit of finessing of our forms. So we're going to drop it down below the form so that we can make it go over a little bit more. By the looks of it, we can try and do it in layout view if you want. It's just not as easy. Like I like to, you can still move things around, but it doesn't move as easily as I would like it. I don't want that field list there. So I like to do everything in design view. We're going to save the following objects. So the form is appointments, and the form, so there's two forms here. So we've created the appointments form, and we have created the veterinary appointments form. And for now, they want us to save both of them. And the reality is that's exactly what we want, is we want to leave it as the those forms. So we're saving those, and I'll say yes to all, or yes. So now we're back in here. So I'm going to move this down a little bit. So I'll just grab that and drag it down. It's not dragging. Drag. Maybe I wasn't selecting it. Let's drag it down so that it's below the picture. And then I will have this attached to it somehow. So I'm just sort of making it look somewhat like the picture. And then what I'll do is I'll make it a little bit bigger so that it can flow underneath there, underneath the picture. And I think there was one, the treatment number needed to be a little bit bigger. I'm not sure. So now I'll go look at it again. And every time I look at it, it sort of gives me an indication of what it should look like. Okay, so that's looking okay. I can see that I need treatment number to be a little bit bigger. And this does not, this white space is unnecessary. So I could make it a little bit smaller if I wanted to. Okay, so we've got that subform going on there. And then I'll just go back into design view and finish the rest of it up. Okay, so we want to adjust any labels that we can't see. I see my home office phone and cell phone kind of need to be fixed. Everything else is looking pretty good. So let's go back into, and that one I could probably do in layout view, but I won't. So I will make that bigger, and I will make that bigger. Okay, so we're just doing a few adjustments. Something else that needed to be fixed, I can't remember what that was. Was it patient ID? I can't remember. All right. So now that we've got that, we're just going to modify a few things, make things a little pretty, bold some stuff, change some colors, that kind of stuff. So for some people, this is really a fun part. I enjoy just playing with it and making it the way I want. So we're just going to do some designing. Our picture should be approximately that. We want the picture to fit in there. So maybe I'll just make it a little bit narrower. All right. So we're going to click the label for the veterinarian ID. That one could probably use a bit of extra space in there. And then if I change it, like if I double click in there, I can actually alter the label. So I'm going to change this to say veterinarian identification. Okay, and now I'll probably have to move it over because it looks like it's too big for that area. Okay, so the veterinarian identification is our new label name. And we moved it. We're going to click all of the labels. So the veterinarian identification, hold the shift key, first name, last name, office phone, cell phone, board certified, appointments, picture, resume, and specialty. Okay, so we selected all of the labels. We're going to go make sure we're in our design tab. We're going to go into the format group. And what we're going to do then is we're going to change, the format tab, and we're going to go into the font group, and we're going to change the font to be purplish. Okay, so we'll use the drop down, and we're going to create dark blue, actually, dark blue. So we created the dark blue so that they're nice, they look like that. We're then going to go to the properties, and we're going to change the borders of these. Okay, so we're going to go into, and I could right mouse button click here as well. So I will go to right mouse button click, and I'll go to my properties. So I could have done that up there, but now I like the properties sheet. I can do a whole bunch with my properties sheet. Okay. So we want to change the border style. Okay, border style. And we want to change that to current value. We want solid. So we're changing that to solid. So we have that one. We want the border width. Right now it's set to hairline. And we want to change that to 3 point. So our border width is thicker. We're going to go to the special effects. Okay, so in the special effects, and we're looking for the etched effect. So it just the way it's going to look. Okay, so we did the etched effect. Oh, did we want etched or did we want sunken? Okay. It says click sunken in the menu of special effects. Oh, sunken, I guess. We'll change that to sunken. Okay, sunken. You can look at them different and see what the difference is. Okay, so we've made some changes there. We can close the property sheet, and then we can go and take a look at it to see what it looks like. Okay, so there's a few things I need to change. So it did a sunken thing, but there's a few. I'd like to add a gap between the veterinarian identification and the veterinarian identification. I would also like to increase the size of the first name and last name boxes because they're too small. And office phone looks like it needs a little bit more space. Okay, so we're getting there. I'm going to do that. And then we're going to change the veterinary, the title as well. So back to design view. All right, so because I had them selected before, they certainly once I select them all, then they will do things in tandem. So they will do that together. So everything got moved, everything looks good. My last name for my phone isn't lined up very well. Okay, so veterinarian identification. Now we're going to fix up our title area. So we just drag the size of it down. So we have the ability to make our heading size as big or small as possible. We want to go to the property sheet. Now you can right mouse button click for the property sheet, or you can just go up here into format, and I think property, or maybe it was right there, property sheet right there. And then our property sheet, you'll notice that we have, if I leave my property sheet open and I click on different areas, the property sheet changes. Okay, so if the information isn't there when you opened up your property sheet, just click somewhere else and you'll find that. So I wanted the property sheet of my veterinarian appointment form title. And so we're going to change some things in here. So the font size, so we're going to go to font size. So it's down here. It's set at 18. We want to change it to 28. We want to change the text alignment to distribute. So text alignment to distribute. And the font weight to semi-bold. So font weight to semi-bold. Okay, so now I will close that. And I have this thing here, so it doesn't seem to want to, I want it to be bigger. There it is, veterinarian appointment form. But it doesn't seem to want to get any bigger. So I think I need to change that so that at least it's a little bit bigger. So I'll just go over here and drag that down. So it says veterinarian appointment form. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is change tab stops. So tab stops are when you tab and type. So a form is a place to enter information. So when you want to enter information, we use a tab stop. So one thing we want to do is we want them to bypass the picture and resume controls for typing information out because they don't need to enter data into those fields. So we're just going to go and so when they tab and enter information, they're not going to be adding or stopping at picture and resume. Okay, so we're going to select, we're in the right area. We're going to select the picture control, so the control, not the label, and we're going to hold the shift key down and select the resume control. Okay, so then we'll go to our property sheet up here, and we're going to make sure that all tabs, so you have format, data, event, other, and all. We want to make sure that your all tab is selected up in the property sheet. And we're going to go down until you find the word tab stop. Okay, so sometimes things are hard to see here, but we're looking for the word tab stop. Okay, so if you scroll down almost to the bottom, you'll see a tab stop. And the tab stop says yes. We actually want to change that to no. Don't stop here. Okay, so we have a tab stop and we do not want it to stop at the picture or the resume. Okay, so now I'll close the property sheet and then it won't tab to that. If we go into our, we're going to save this, and it has been changed since the last time. What does it say? Has been changed since the last time you opened it. Either or another instant was opened as own machine. Okay, so let's go back into my form view. Okay, so now if I was to enter information, I would, or even looking at information. So if I tab first name, last name, office phone, cell phone, specialty, board certified, and appointments. Okay, so it tabs through. But it doesn't stop at the picture or the resume, which is what I wanted. Now, if I wanted to change that, we'll change tab orders later, but you can change the tab order. So I'm going to go down into back into my design view, and we're going to change the tab order. And I'm just trying to think what we don't want. But when you select that, or when you want to do a tab order, so I'm just going to select off of that. Right up here in the tab order button up here, I can click that. And if I wanted to change the order of it tabbing, this is where I would just drag and drop. Okay, so we want our, go to the veterinarian ID, first name, last name, office phone, cell phone, board certified. Oh, board certified. We want to drag board certified up under cell phone. So we just click on it. And we should be able to, and this is the custom order. Oh, sorry, I was clicking the wrong spot. So we got to click on this area here. We're going to move that up to under cell phone. Then we have specialty, picture, resume, which they're not stopping at an appointments subform. Okay, so we just, when you want to move it, you just grab it and move it using this box here. Okay, so now my tab, when I tab, will go cell phone, then board certified, then over to specialty. Okay. So what we want to do is manage the attachments now. So I'm just going to go into my view, and I'm going to close this panel. And so I have it open. We're going to scroll to Carl. Okay, so Carl, remember we talked about this one. And we want to right mouse button click on the resume field, okay? So we want to right mouse button click, and then we need to manage the attachment. So remember I said that wasn't actually his resume, so we want to manage the attachment. So we want to know what they want to see, okay? So we have the innovations is the first one on top, and that's the one that's going to display. And we could remove an attachment if we didn't want it, if we wanted his resume to come up here, or we could remove the other one. Not sure why that one was in there, but let's see what we wanted to do. Okay. So we could remove them here, or we could open them both. So when we open up, it would open and we could just look at them. So if this was took a long time. So it opens up so that we can see his resume. Okay, I'll close that. And I can just say cancel. And now this is still there. So we can just, or if I double click, it should open up and show me. The first one that comes up is the PDF. All right. So I don't think we need to do anything. So I'm going to close the form. And I think we're done with making this pretty. We'll see what else we got to do. And I'll just close the form. And I will save the changes. Not even sure what I did, but I'll save the changes and leave it there. In databases, or especially even in the one that we've created here, we can see that we have been adding fields to different reports and queries, etc. But most of these objects, so an object is a table, a query, a form, and a report, are dependent upon different things. So all of the queries, forms, and reports are dependent upon the information or dependent upon tables. So one of the things that's really good to know is what objects are dependent upon the individual tables. So for example, if we open up the appointments table or click on the appointments table and then go up to our database tools, we can then take a peek up here at object dependencies. So what this is going to do is it's going to tell us what objects are dependent upon the appointments table. So if we make big changes in our appointments table or we make changes somewhere else, we want to know what objects are dependent upon it. So if we look at table appointments, objects that are dependent on me are the owner, because they're linked, right? Owners, treatment costs, and veterinarian. All of these queries, these forms, and these reports. We could also check and see which objects do I depend on. So in objects you depend on as a table, you should only depend upon other tables. So for example, what if I selected, say, the veterinary split form and went up to, say, object dependencies, I can see that objects that I depend on are the veterinary vendors table. Okay, there should be no objects that depend upon me. So if I deleted this form, then it would affect nothing else. However, if I deleted this, I'll just refresh it because I clicked on appointments table. If I deleted this appointments table, either by accident or on purpose, it would, all of the objects that are dependent upon me would cause an error in them. Okay, so just be careful and understand that the certain objects are dependent upon other things. So it's just one way to check and see what it's dependent upon. If we look at the veterinarians and do a refresh, there's one form, no queries, no reports, and it's linked to the treatments or the appointments table itself. So I will close that and close that. We're going to now look at date, time, long text, and yes, no fields in queries. So what we're going to look at is using the different, I don't know, it's queries are a little bit different when you're looking at specialized fields like that. So what happens is the first query we're going to do is that CMF Vets wants to find veterinary appointments after 6/1/2021, so the 1st of June, and who have the word cardiology in their specialty field and who have met their board certification. So we know who that's going to be, right? Because we just entered them. But this allows us to create a query to do so. So we have the veterinarians and appointments table here. So what we're going to do first is all we're going to do is start at create, and we're going to do query, and we'll do the query design. Okay, so I'll close my things, and I'm going to add the appointments table, and I'm going to add the veterinarians. So we have the veterinarians right there, and they're linked together, which is awesome. And we want to have the veterinarian's first name, last name, the appointment date. So we're going to come to the appointment table. Appointment date, specialty. So that's got to do with this guy. Specialty. and whether they're board certified. Okay, so we've added first name, last name, specialty and board certified from the veterinarians table, and then appointment date from the appointments table. So if we ran that without any criteria, and we run that, we can see we have all of William Black and their appointment date. There's no specialty and no board certification. So I'm looking at this and I don't see Carl coming in there. So I got to go check something out here. So it should have come up with everybody. So the veterinarians, it should have come up with everybody. And I'm not sure, maybe it's because, oh, I know why. Maybe it's because there were no appointments for Carl. Like Carl did not have any appointments. So I'm thinking, did we forget to add, did I forget to add an appointment for Carl? Because when I do the criteria, and this is the correct way to do it, I would go into my criteria under the appointment date, and I would say I want it to be greater than 6/1/2021. Under the specialty field, I would choose, because I want it to be an and, not an or, I would like it to say star, because it's anything before, but I want the words cardiology. Cardiology and star. So that means any words before cardiology and any words after cardiology, and just making sure I spell it right, as the criteria, and I want it to be board certified as yes. Or did I want it or? I'm just going to read what I wanted. And board certified. So if I ran this right now, because I didn't enter anything for Carl, I'm still going to run it, and nobody came up, which is okay, because I think somewhere I forgot to enter an appointment for Carl. Yes, it could have been right here where I was supposed to. Oh, it doesn't show anything. I'll figure that out. I'll take a second and pause this and go find out where I forgot to enter Carl's information. So I went back and looked, and nowhere did I find that they wanted me to add in an appointment for Carl. However, we're just going to be closing and not saving this query anyway, so it's going to be okay. So I'll go back into design view. And if we wanted to see whether they were board certified, because it's a yes/no box, we would type in the word either yes or no. So I'm going to take out the appointment date for this guy because I'm not going to be saving this anyway. And we will see cardiology, so the specialty for the veterinarians would be cardiology, and board certified as a yes. If I ran it, nobody came up, so why not? So it should have, oh, tab, it should say board certified either yes or no, but it doesn't seem to like the yes. So I'm going to remove that for a second and see if I can run this. And they're showing nobody. So if I go back here, I could just have spelled it cardiology. Looks like I spelt it correctly. And now nobody's coming up. So I will run all of these. Okay, so he's not even in there. I think that's probably the problem, is that in the appointments, he doesn't have an appointment, so he's not connected, so he doesn't have an appointment date. So that's why he's not coming up, but that's okay. So any of the board certified ones, we would just type in, if it's a checkbox, type in yes, and their specific specialties. So I'm not really worried. The reason that we're not getting Carl up there at all is because he doesn't have any appointments in my appointment calendar. If he did, then he would come up. Okay, so I'm going to close that and not save at all. No, I don't want to save that. Okay, and I'll open up my navigation pane to get ready on the next step. All right, so looking through this chapter, it looks like that's the end of Module 5. I will upload this and see if there's any big stuff that needs to be fixed. Usually what I get wrong are simply just spelling errors, so you'll go through and fix anything. If it's a major error that I made, I will come back and do that, but if you don't see it in the next minute, that means that it's just, if there is any errors, then it'll just be spelling errors. So we should be good to go.